Okay, so get this right.
Mm-hmm.
Trump, back in the White House,
Mm-hmm.
is suddenly, like, Bitcoin's biggest fan.
Yeah.
I know, wild, right?
Wild.
We're diving into a paper today, an academic one, that lays out how this second Trump term
Uh-huh.
could completely flip the script on crypto.
Yeah.
Like, think national Bitcoin reserves,
Right.
a whole council dedicated to cryptocurrency, even Elon Musk advising Trump.
Wow.
Yeah, you heard that right.
It's a lot to unpack.
It's huge.
It is.
You know, when we talk about Trump, and we've talked about him a lot of the show,
Right.
I think of, like, unpredictability, right?
Absolutely.
But this crypto about-face, this is next level.
Yeah, it's a real head-scratcher for a lot of people.
You're one, I think.
You know, one minute he's dismissing Bitcoin, the next he's practically calling it digital gold.
Right.
And this paper really digs into how he went from skeptic to, well, let's just say believer, and what that could mean for the whole crypto world.
So we're not just talking about, like, a change of heart here. No, not at all.
This is about actual policies.
Yeah.
Right, concrete actions.
Like, what's the big overarching thing?
So the paper lays out this vision where Bitcoin basically gets treated like a digital Fort Knox.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Digital Fort Knox, that's a pretty striking image.
It is.
Can you unpack that a bit?
So one of the most, I think, radical ideas in this whole paper is this idea of a national strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Okay.
So imagine the government holding Bitcoin just like they hold gold.
Oh, okay, I see.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah.
But it's not just about, holding an asset. It's about what that signifies.
Yeah. I mean, why would they even do that?
Right. And that's where it gets really interesting because historically, gold reserves, they've been this symbol of economic stability, of power.
Yeah.
So by creating a Bitcoin reserve, the U.S. government is basically saying, we see this as a legitimate store of value.
So it's like a stamp of approval.
It is. It's a huge stamp of approval. Okay, yeah.
And potentially a hedge against inflation.
Oh, wow.
And imagine the ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
If other countries start doing the same thing,
Right.
it could really shake things up, even for the dollar.
So it's not even just about, like, America being gung-ho about Bitcoin.
No, it's bigger than that.
It's like the entire global, like, landscape of finance.
Exactly.
But how do they actually do that?
Right.
Like, how do you build a digital Fort Knox?
Well, that's one of the big questions the paper grapples with.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the logistics, the security, the potential for, someone messing with the market.
Manipulation.
Exactly.
Okay.
But on the flip side, if the U.S. really commits, this could be a huge push to develop the infrastructure you need to actually manage something like this.
So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
By saying we're doing this, they're forcing the creation of the tools to make it happen.
Okay, so we've got, like, the what and the how.
But what about the who?
The players.
Yeah, the players.
Yeah.
This paper mentions, like, some pretty big names advising Trump on all things crypto.
Absolutely.
Like Elon Musk, right?
Front and center.
And David Sachs.
Yep.
These are people who are, like, all in on crypto.
No doubt.
What does that tell you?
Well, to me, it means they're serious.
Okay.
Like, having those voices right there with Trump.
Yeah.
It shows this is a major shift in direction.
Uh-huh.
And their expertise, right?
Yeah.
It could really help shape how the government regulates crypto.
Right.
Maybe even bring in those big institutional investors.
Yeah.
But, and there's always a but,
Yeah.
it also raises these questions about, are there conflicts of interest?
Oh, yeah.
It's a delicate balance.
Right.
You want their knowledge, but you also need to be wary.
So it's not all, like, Bitcoin to the moon kind of thing.
No, definitely not.
What are some of the potential downsides, the risks that the paper brings up?
Oh, there are definitely risks.
Yeah.
Volatility is a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if all this institutional money suddenly floods in, the price could swing like crazy.
Right.
And that could really hurt everyday investors.
The little guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the political side of things.
Oh, yeah.
What happens if, the next administration comes in and they're not so crypto-friendly?
Oh, that's scary.
It is.
Yeah.
Everything Trump does could just get undone.
So it's like we want clarity on the regulations.
Yeah.
But we're also kind of scared of Like too much government getting involved.
That's the tightrope walk, right?
Right.
Too much regulation.
Yeah.
And you could stifle the innovation that makes crypto so cool in the first place.
Exactly. It's like a delicate ecosystem.
It is.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, accidentally crush it.
And then there's the whole like global competition thing.
Right.
China's got their own digital currency that they've been pushing hard.
Yeah. They're all in on the CBDC.
If the U.S. does this Bitcoin reserve thing, what does that even mean for that whole dynamic?
Well, it gets really interesting because China's approach is all about control, right?
Yeah.
It's a central bank digital currency, so the government has their hands on the wheel the whole time.
Right.
But Bitcoin, it's decentralized.
Yeah.
So if the U.S. goes all in on that,
Uh-huh.
it's a direct challenge to China's model.
Like two completely different philosophies.
Yeah, and it could mean we end up with a financial world that's like split in two.
Digital Cold War.
Almost, yeah.
No.
Two systems competing to be the top dog.
So on one hand, we've got this super optimistic scenario where Bitcoin becomes like a fundamental part of the U.S. economy.
Right.
But then we've got all these risks,
Yeah.
all these uncertainties.
That's the
If you had to boil it all down,
Cool.
what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think the big takeaway is that Trump's second term could be this pivotal moment, not just for Bitcoin, but for the whole future of how we think about money.
Right.
Like, this could legitimize Bitcoin on a global scale, but it's a huge gamble.
A high-stakes game.
Yeah, and no one knows for sure who's going to come out on top.
That's a lot to think about.
It is.
This paper paints a future where the U.S. backing Bitcoin could like completely change how global power works.
Yeah,
Maybe even like challenge the dollar's dominance.
absolutely.
But it also makes it clear like there's a ton of risk involved.
There is.
So as we move forward in this crazy new world, the question is, will Bitcoin thrive under Trump?
Right.
Or will it just become another like casualty of politics?
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
And I don't think anyone has the answer yet.
No.
But it'll be interesting to watch it play out, that's for sure.
Yeah, something to ponder.
Definitely.
That's for sure.
Mm.
All right, well, that's our deep dive for today.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Really makes you think.
It does. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
And we'll catch you folks next time.
Until then.